Most people think of the American West as just cowboys and desert highways, but few realize that within the borders of a single country, nature somehow managed to stack everything on top of itself: ancient glaciers, the densest temperate rainforests on the continent, scorching Death Valley badlands, and coastlines where sea lions bark under the California sun. How does all of that fit together? The answer goes back hundreds of millions of years, and it starts deep beneath your feet. Around 65 million years ago, the Pacific tectonic plate began grinding beneath the North American plate. The continental crust buckled, compressed, and slowly heaved upward with every underground tremor. That's how the western mountain ranges were born: the Rockies, the Sierra Nevada, the Cascades, a massive spine of stone running the entire length of the continent's western edge. That collision of plates created one of the most geologically complex landscapes on Earth: soaring peaks, high desert plateaus, glaciated valleys, coastal redwood forests, and sun-baked plains, all packed into the western third of the United States. To the west of the Sierra Nevada lies California's Central Valley and the arid coastline of the Mojave. To the east, moisture-laden Pacific storms slam into the mountain ranges, feeding lush forests and alpine meadows. In between sits the Great Basin, a cold, high desert where summer afternoons hit triple digits and winter nights drop well below freezing. It's exactly this kind of climatic whiplash that has made the American West one of the most biodiverse regions on the entire planet. Our first stop, the summit of Mount Rainier in Washington State. The air here is so thin that every step above 10,000 feet feels like breathing through a wet blanket. The mountain's glaciers, 14 of them, gleam silver white under the morning sun year-round, even in August. At its base spreads Mount Rainier National Park, a UNESCO World Heritage candidate and one of the crown jewels of the national park system. Meltwater from those glaciers feeds rivers that supply drinking water to the greater Seattle metro area and sustain entire downstream ecosystems. This is home to mountain goats, pikas, and dozens of bird species, including the American bald eagle, the national symbol that the ancient peoples of the Pacific Northwest considered a messenger between the human world and the spirit world. The bald eagle is one of the most iconic birds in North America. Its wingspan stretches nearly 8 feet across. It soars above river gorges for hours without a single wing beat, riding thermal columns of rising warm air. Native tribes of the Pacific Northwest, the Chinook, the Haida, the Tlingit, believed the eagle carried prayers from the living to the ancestors. Along cliff faces where nothing else dares to nest, the eagle reigns. When morning fog rolls in off Puget Sound, its silhouette cuts through the gray, the only moving thing in an otherwise still world. On the rocky talus slopes near the timberline lives the pika, a tiny creature that looks like someone crossed a hamster with a rabbit and forgot to give it a tail. Dense gray-brown fur, round ears, a quick shuffling walk, and yet perfectly adapted to survive at elevations that would exhaust most mammals. By day, the pika cuts and dries grasses in the sun, stacking miniature haystacks for winter. By evening, it retreats beneath the boulders. A palm-sized animal living above 10,000 feet, living proof that life finds a way no matter how brutal the conditions. Dropping down from the alpine zone onto the high plateaus of Wyoming and Montana, you enter an entirely different world. Here, American bison graze, like slow-moving boulders drifting across the grasslands. Humans nearly wiped them out completely by the 1880s. Massive shoulders, thick curling fur on the forequarters, a face that always looks like it's got somewhere important to be. Their coats shift through the seasons. Shaggy dark brown in winter, sun-bleached and patchy by late summer. In the golden afternoon light, a herd of 1,000 bison moving across the Lamar Valley in Yellowstone looks like something out of a dream that most Americans alive today never thought they'd see. The wild cousin of the bison in terms of ecological role is the pronghorn, the fastest land animal in the Western Hemisphere. Slimmer, more nervous, built for pure speed. Its coat is a warm tan with white patches that catch the light like a mirror. Native peoples called the pronghorn a gift of the open plains. Today, pronghorn herds still migrate across Wyoming in one of the last great intact land migrations left in North America, a journey of nearly 100 miles each way, following corridors that predate every highway and fence line on the map. Hunting both the bison calves and the pronghorn is the mountain lion, the ghost of the American wilderness. No mane, no roar, just silence and a tawny shape that disappears into dry grass like it was never there. Pale gold eyes catch the last light of dusk. The mountain lion lives alone, patrolling territories that can stretch across 100 square miles in places like the hill country outside Austin, Texas, or the Santa Monica Mountains right on the edge of Los Angeles. It can hold perfectly still in the shadow of a boulder for hours, waiting for the one clean moment. The lunge, fast and final. One bite behind the skull. Then, silence. In the high desert, a missed strike means days without food. The journey continues south and east to the Great Smoky Mountains, the green heart of Appalachia, straddling the border of Tennessee and North Carolina. The cloud forest here greets you with air so thick with humidity, it feels like breathing through a warm towel, saturated with the smell of moss, soil, and decomposing leaves. Ancient hardwood trunks are wrapped in ferns and shelf fungi. Light falls in broken silver threads through the dense canopy. On early mornings in October, before the fog burns off, all you can hear is the steady drip of water from the treetops and the distant call of a wood thrush echoing through the hollows. In these forests lives the wild turkey, a bird so vivid in full display it barely looks real. The male's tail fans out like a wheel of iridescent bronze and copper, his bare head flushes red, white, and blue, and he struts in slow circles, dragging his wing feathers across the ground with a sound like a broom on hardwood. During spring mating season, males gather in forest clearings and stage elaborate performances, gobbling, strutting, puffing up to twice their apparent size. The females watch from the tree line and make their choice. After that, raising the chicks is entirely the hen's responsibility. Hidden in the misty ridgelines of Appalachia are cerulean warblers, birds that naturalists call the blue jewels of the eastern forest. A sky blue back, white undersides, a voice like a buzzing zipper echoing up through the canopy. They barely make themselves visible and rarely venture below the highest branches. The presence of a cerulean warbler is a reliable indicator of old-growth forest, where the big trees have never been cut and the ecological chain has never been broken. When the rainy season hits the southeast, late spring across Georgia, Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle, storm systems push inland from the Gulf of Mexico, and the rivers run hard. The Okefenokee Swamp in southern Georgia floods deeper. Cypress trunks stand like columns in the middle of spreading black mirrors. Largemouth bass weave between submerged roots, feeding on whatever falls from the branches above. Cottonmouth moccasins drift along the surface like dark ribbons. Seeds ride the current toward distant mudflats, planting the swamp forests of the future. In those floodwaters, the American alligator rules. Adults in the Everglades and along the Georgia coast regularly hit 12 to 14 feet. When water levels rise, gators push deeper into flooded vegetation and take whatever crosses their path: fish, wading birds, raccoons, the occasional white-tailed deer that misjudge the crossing. But there is another giant in these waters, the alligator gar, one of the largest freshwater fish in North America. Adults can stretch past 6 feet and weigh over 200 pounds. The gar doesn't chase, it drifts, motionless near the surface, armored in scales like medieval chainmail, and then lunges sideways with a snap so fast the eye can't track it. The prey is gone before it registers the danger. In the dry season, the swamp transforms. Water levels drop, birds flock to the shrinking pools to feed, and bull alligators fill the pre-dawn darkness with a subsonic bellow that you feel in your chest before you hear it with your ears. Across the forest floor of the southeastern pine flatwoods, fire ant columns move in living rivers, each worker carrying fragments of food many times its own body weight back to the mound. Meanwhile, army-style columns of driver ants push through the leaf litter and nothing slow enough to be caught escapes. Finally, the journey ends on the California coast at Point Reyes, north of San Francisco. Coastal bluffs drop sharply into cold green Pacific water. A constant wind blows in off the ocean. There's none of the humidity of the southeast, only salt spray, fog, and the smell of kelp baking on warm rock. And here, in what feels like it shouldn't be possible this far south, is where thousands of elephant seals haul out every winter. They survive because of the California current, which pulls cold, nutrient-rich water down from the Gulf of Alaska, cooling the coastal air and driving massive blooms of krill and fish. Every morning, the seals launch their bulk into the surf, 2-ton bodies suddenly weightless, cutting through the kelp forests in pursuit of rockfish and squid. On the rocks nearby, California sea lions bark and jostle for position. Awkward on land, almost supernaturally fast in the water. Brown pelicans patrol the shoreline in formation, riding the updraft off the cliff face. When they spot a school of anchovies just beneath the surface, they fold their wings and drop like feathered lawn darts, hitting the water with a crack that echoes off the bluffs, and come up with pouches bulging. The American West, and really the whole of this continent, is a place where nature never had to choose between extremes. It took all of them: snow and tropics, desert and ocean, the silence of a Cascade glacier, and the noise of a Florida thunderstorm rolling across the Everglades. All of it inside one country. From the summit of Mount Rainier to the elephant seal beaches of Point Reyes, this isn't just a road trip across a map. It's a journey through the entire history of life on this planet. If this video hit different, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We've got incredible places lined up that most Americans have never thought to look at twice. Drop a comment below and tell us what state you're watching from. We genuinely want to know who's out there making this journey with us.